Good afternoon, everyone. Once again, welcome you all to the IST BNY Knowledge Enhancement Program 2026, a 6-day faculty development program on environmental and geotechnical engineering, hydrogeology, waste management, and risk assessment, organized by the Department of Civil Engineering, Guru Govind Singh Educational Society Technical Campus, Bokaro. Once again, welcome you all. Just few minutes, our next session resource person will join us. Till then, stay connected. Thank you, everyone.
Hello.
Moving forward to our next resource person, it is a privilege to introduce Dr. Maya Raj Narayan Rai, Associate Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at Birla Institute of Technology, BIT, Sindri, Jharkhand. Dr. Rai holds a bachelor's and master degree in civil engineering from the Maharaja Shivaji Rao University of Vadodara, Gujarat, and earned her PhD in water resource engineering from IIT Guwahati. Her area of specialization is water resource engineering and management, with research interest encompassing water resource planning, irrigation management, hydropower project operation, and sustainable water management. In addition to her academic and research contributions, Dr. Ray serves as a Dean of Faculty Affairs and Coordinator of Internal Quality Assurance Cells at BIT Sindri. She has actively contributed to academic development through research, workshops, and faculty mentoring initiatives. Her vast experience and expertise make her an inspiring guide for all of us. We are delighted to have her as a part of this FDP and eagerly looking forward to gaining valuable insight from her session. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Maya Raj Narayan Rai, ma'am. Ma'am, please.
Thank you. Good. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Due to some issues, my camera is not properly functioning. So, can you do one thing for me? That I have shared is my PPT on your email, official email. So, can you do that? You can share the slides for me.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. We will try. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we have
Yeah.
started the presentation.
Okay.
Share the
Thank
screen.
you. Hello. Thank you. Very good evening to one and all present here. I am very much thankful and delighted to meet you all, and thankful to you for calling me and giving me the opportunity to discuss my ideas on open channel flow, hydraulics, and computing. Uh, uh, on this FDP program, basically, I'm thankful to the management, I'm thankful to the principal and HOD, Civil Engineering, RP Verma, and all for calling me and always discussing some ideas and all. So, in this PPT, basically, I'm going to share some ideas on open channel flow, uh, which comprises that has an objective which discusses types of channel, types of flow, velocity distribution, discharge through open channels, most economical channel, specific energy and specific energy curves, hydraulic jump, gradually varying flow, and some case studies also I have covered, which I have conducted in my consultancy work in the Jharkhand itself. So, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
You are
madam.
audible.
Yes,
Hello.
ma'am. Yes,
Can
ma'am.
anybody
You are
hear
Good
audible.
afternoon,
me?
madam. Yes, you are
Okay.
quite audible, madam.
So,
Interesting.
प्लीज ये जो स्लाइड्स है प्लीज मूव करते जाएंगे आप लोग. नेक्स्ट या नेक्स्ट प्लीज नेक्स्ट या हाँ. Now, basically, actually, those who must be teaching open channel flow or hydraulics, actually, in Jharkhand Technical University, we are having this subject as a optional one, professional elective. And this time we have floated in our institution. And this subject is very interesting and also have a very much weightage on many engineering examinations, the competitive examination, which includes state or national level examinations. So here we are having different types of channel, and basically how we can say that one is open channel and another one is closed conduit flow. So closed conduit flows and open, there a major difference between open channel and closed conduit flow is what the open channel has a free surface and the flow takes place due to gravity, whereas pipe flow is when the pipe is flowing full, then it is only called as a pipe flow. Otherwise, when the pipe is not running full, it is called as a open channel flow. So in many time, especially in sewage system, sewers are designed in such a way that throughout the year, it partly part of year it works as a open channel flow. It runs as a open channel flow, and a part of year it works as a full pressurized flow or pipe flow. In open channel flow, then I will tell you in the which time period the sewage system will run as a pipe flow. Can anyone answer me in the August gathering here?
Yes, ma'am. During
Yeah.
the rainy season, it is act as a close conduit flow, and during the lean season, it's like summer season and dry season, there is a limited water passing in the drain. So at that time, the channel is treated as open channel
Yes,
because
yes.
of atmospheric pressure is throughout the surface of water.
Yes. So, absolutely, the answer is correct. And the same way, the sewage systems are designed in a two different way. It is designed to like keeping the concentrations of open channel flow as well as concentration of pipe flow. So please, can we move to the next slide? So pipe open channel flow is a free flow which has interface between air and upper layer of water. And some standard examples of open channel flow are rivers in natural system, rivers, oceans, and overland flow of rainfall are the example of free flow which occurs in nature. Can we go to the next slide, please? So open channel flow is again, open channel is classified in two different ways. One is natural and another one is artificial channel. So natural channels are like rivers, hillside, small rivers, and tidal estuaries, small streams, nalas, all are categorized as a natural open channel flow, which has irregular shape. Whereas some channels are open channel flow, which is categorized as artificial channel or man-made channel. So in this, we can classify as a drains, sewage drains, culverts, sieves, and tunnels. All are the example of artificial channel or man-made open channel. Can we move to the next slide? Here are the distinction between open channel flow and pipe flow. So the standard comparison on the basis of several criteria. So first criteria is free surface. So water surface, open channel flow has a free surface, whereas pipe flow does not have free surface when it runs full. Then the flow force which drives the flow in both the system. One is open channel system and another one is pipe flow. So the driving force is gravitational flow in case of open channel flow, while as driving force in pipe flow is pressure difference, or you can say is it is a pressure flow. Pressure is hydrostatic, atmospheric at surface, and in this pressure is internal pipe pressure. Example of open channel flows are river, canals, streams, etc. While examples of pipe flow are water supply pipe, oil pipe, and this chemical industry also, chemical pipelines, all are categorized in the pipe flow. In this situation, open channel flow, the flow has different types. One is subcritical, another one is critical, and another one is supercritical. While in this, the flow can be categorized as a laminar and turbulent flow. Energy point of view, if we consider open channel flow as elevation head plus velocity head, or datum head also you can add. Potential head is also there. And energy in this case is pressure head and velocity head. Can we move to the next slide, please? So types of flow in open channel flow. Now we are coming to the open channel flow. And here we are discussing different types of flow. So from the certain criteria, we can majorly classify the types of flow as steady and unsteady flow, uniform and non-uniform flow, laminar and turbulent flow, subcritical, critical, and supercritical flow. The next slide, please. Now, let us see how can we categorize like what is steady and what is unsteady flow. So steady means in layman's word, steady means the things which doesn't change with respect to time. So that is called as steady condition. And same way we can say it in terms of open channel flow. The steady condition means flow parameters like flow rate, velocity, depth, etc. do not change with respect to time. That is called as a steady state of flow. So if we take the partial derivation of del Q del Q del T is equal to 0, del V del T is 0, and del Y del T is 0. However, the flow is unsteady if the all parameters like flow, velocity, depth, or any other parameter changes with respect to time at particular section, then it is called as an unsteady flow. So in this situation, the partial differentiation of either discharge, velocity, or depth or slope with respect to time is varying, is not constant, and that is not equal to 0. That is why this kind of flow is called as a unsteady flow. Can we go to the next slide? Uniform and non-uniform flow. Uniformity means something which doesn't change with respect to space, or here in terms of open channel flow, if for a given length of channel, a velocity of flow, depth, or discharge at particular cross section remains constant, and it remains throughout the channel section constant, then we call it as a uniform flow. So the first equation in which del Q over del S is equal to 0, del V over del S is 0, and del Y over del S is 0. Whereas del Q over del S is not equal to 0, this signifies the non-uniformity of the flow. And in non-uniform flow condition, any parameter of flow like discharge, velocity, depth, or slope is not remaining constant with respect to space. Here with space we refer with the particular reach of the channel under consideration, right? So this is about uniform and non-uniform flow. Now coming to the next type of flow, can we move to the next slide, please? So here we are coming to the non-uniform flow. Like non-uniform flow, we have understood that the with respect to velocity, depth, or discharge, it doesn't remain constant over space. With respect to space means the direction. So your non-uniform flow is again classified as a two type of flow. One is gradually varied flow, and another is rapidly varied flow. So if the depth of flow changes slowly over long reach of canal or channel, and the changes are happening gradually, we can call it as a gradually varying flow. However, the name implies itself rapidly varying flow, means if the changes in the flow happens abruptly over small length of the channel, then we call it as a rapidly varying flow. Can we move to the next slide? See, here in the cross section, we an image which depicts the combination of flows. So you can see that there is a tank which has a opening at the bottom, and from that opening the flow passes over a ridge which has a sloping bottom, and again it is there is a rise, and then a fall is there, and from there the bottom is horizontal, and from there the bottom is again vertical. So from the sluice, when the water is taking exit, the flow is gushing out with high velocity, and therefore the flow is rapidly varying flow. You can see that the notification between first two dotted line, that is RVF, that classifies the flow is RVF. In the middle ridge, you can see that the notification is UF, that means uniform flow. So after the turbulence, the flow has gained the stability, and it is flowing at a constant depth in the certain reach of channel, and that is why the flow is called as a uniform flow. And perhaps due to the obstacle and due to the barrier in the bottom of channel at near the fall, the upstream of the flow, certain changes are happening, and the flow conditions are not following the uniform flow conditions, and the rise in flow is happening in a very short length of channel reach. And here in a very short reach of channel, you can see that RVF, that is rapidly varying flow, is happening. Again, the flow is getting stability and depth is getting stable, and again it attains to the uniform flow condition. And from uniform flow condition, when it falls down, then again it is following the rapidly varied flows, coming into the rapidly varying flow condition. And in this situation, from rapidly varying flow, when it is gradually attaining the stability, it meantime it attains the gradually varying flow. And again, when the slope is changing at this at the last 2 second last section of the channel, you can see that RVF, like when the two slopes are meeting at point, RVF is happening, and when the slope is again constant, then it attains the UF, uniform flow condition. So this is an example how we can like we can see all the different conditions, how the flow is happening, how the rapidly varying flow is attaining a uniform flow condition, and you from again at uniform flow condition to rapidly varying flow condition, and from that uniform flow condition again rapidly varying flow to gradually varying flow. So these are the in real life situation, in real time situation, how the flow conditions are varying with respect to the bottom of the channel bottom, and the barriers which is coming during the passage of flow. So can we move to the next slide, please? The laminar and turbulent flow conditions are the two type of conditions which we denote based on the Reynolds number. And Reynolds number, the equation for Reynolds number is very known, that is rho VR upon mu, where rho is the density of water, mu is the dynamic viscosity, and R is the hydraulic mean depth, or you can simply call it the mean depth also, right? So that way, Reynolds number is a signifying parameter which decides the flow is laminar or turbulent flow. Can we move to the next slide, please? So, in open channel flow condition, Reynolds numbers represents a laminar flow condition when the Reynolds number is less than 500, and for transitional flow, Reynolds number is greater than 500 and less than 1000. And for turbulent flow condition, the Reynolds number is greater than 1000, right? So, can we move to the next slide, please? Now, the fourth type which we are going to discuss is subcritical, critical, and supercritical flow. So, the criticality is signified with reference to the Froude's number. So, the flow in the open channel is said to be subcritical if Froude's number that we signified as Fe is less than 1. If Fe, Froude's number, which has a equation Fe is equal to V upon root GD, where V is velocity of flow, D is the hydraulic depth of channel, is equal to the ratio of wetted area to the top width of channel. Here it is written as D, sometimes we also refer as R. It's the same thing. D in some situation we take it as a open top width of the channel as well. So top width we can consider as a especially in trapezoidal channel, we consider area divided by top width. So we can consider as a D. And subcritical flow is also called as tranquil or streamline flow. For subcritical flow, the Froude number is less than 1. For critical flow, Froude number is equal to 1. And for critical supercritical flow, the Froude number is greater than 1. Supercritical flow is also called as a shooting or rapid condition of the flow. Can we move to the next slide, please? These are the conditions of channel when we can see that how the channel is how the channel flow is happening running in subcritical flow condition, and when the channel bottom is changing, like this, you can see that SO is less than SC. SO means channel bottom slope of channel, bed of channel, and this SC is critical slope of channel. So with when the natural slope of channel is less than critical slope of channel, the flow condition is subcritical. But in the condition when SO is greater than SC, the supercritical flow condition is there. Same way, the supercritical and subcritical flow conditions are shown over here. And the hydraulic jump is the phenomena when supercritical means the depth, actual depth of flow or normal depth of flow, which is less than the critical depth of flow, tries to attain the subcritical flow, which is the normal depth of flow is greater than critical flow. So in that situation, we call it as a hydraulic jump. That condition is called as a hydraulic jump. But we will discuss all these things in detail in the later slides. Can we move to the next slide, please? Now, when we are talking about open channel flow, we need to understand the velocity distribution. How the velocity is changing in open channel flow. So velocity is always vary across the channel because of friction along the boundary. A maximum velocity usually found just below the free surface, not at the free surface, right? And why that is happening, that also we will understand. So can we move to the next slide? So here we can see some shapes, like one is rectangular channel. In the first image, A, and there are two images, A and B. In image A, extreme left figure, which shows a rectangular channel section. Here, the contours are presented. The line of contour lines are presented and velocity is presented with the help of these contours. So you can see that the maximum velocity contour, our circular one, is at the center line of the channel, but little bit below the free surface line. So you can see that the velocity, maximum velocity, is happening below the free surface. Actually, it is approximately 0.4 y or depth of the if we calculate, it becomes almost 0.4 times the depth of water in the flow where the maximum velocity occurs. The second example is the circular channel, which is shown in the velocity profile is shown along, and in trapezoidal channel also the velocity profile is shown in the section B. Can we move to the next slide? Now we are talking about the uniform flow situations, and we are discussing several equations which are used for the calculation of uniform flow and understanding of uniform flow condition. So here the discharge through open channel flow is computed. Yeah, several equations, several scientists have contributed for that. So velocity is contributed, calculation of velocity is done by Chassis formula as well as Manning's formula. Here the Chassis constant C and Manning constant N is the constant in that terms. Bézier formula and Cutter's formula is used for the velocity and discharge calculation. Next slide, please. Here, a simple example of uniform flow condition is presented here. The component of weight is W sine I. I is the slope. Here, I is represented as a slope in with section 1 and 2. And frictional resistance against the water is FPLV square. And when we compare both, we can get the FPLV square is equal to WAL sine S. Also, you can consider slope or I. Next is slide, please. The Chase's formula we refer is V is equal to C square root of R into S, where R is hydraulic mean depth, that is area divided by perimeter, and S is the longitudinal slope of the channel. Again, V is elaborated as square root of W upon F, and this square root of A upon P sine S. But sine S is very small, and that is why we sine S, instead of sine S, we consider as a S. And hydraulic radius we refer as A upon P, and W over F is signified or utilized as a constant. And which constant? That constant is referred as a Chase's constant. The next slide, please. In Chase's constant, we can see that the initial equation was V is equal to C square root of R sine S, right? But for small values of sine S, sine S is equal to 10S is equal to S, and that is why we consider the entire model as V is equal to C into R square root of R into S. The next slide, please. Another equation is Manning's equation. So Manning's equation is here. Actually there is a typing mistake. Here the velocity C, instead of C we can consider C as velocity. V is equal to 1 upon N R raised to 2/3 S raised to 1/2, where N is Manning's roughness coefficient, and this roughness coefficient is again depending on many parameters, like stage of flow in the channel, like vegetations, different kind of vegetation. For different kind of vegetation, N value will be different. For big grass, for small shrubs, for all such conditions, N value is different. And for N values, you can refer food in, there are several tables of FAO and US Army Corps of Engineer. USGS has several standards and tables for different types of vegetation, different types of flow conditions, and for different stages, and also for different kind of bed material and bank material. N value is varying. So N value is varying on various parameters. S here is a longitudinal slope of the channel ridge. Next slide, please. Another constant is Bayes' formula. So Chase's here the C is 157.6 divided by 1.81 plus K upon square root of R, where K is Bayes' constant and R is hydraulic radius. Next is Cutter's formula. Can we please move to the next slide? Yeah, before that, there are several values for the Bayes' constant. So here you can refer in the table that smooth cement, plaster or plain wood, the constant is 0.11. For concrete brick and unplaned wood, 0.21 is a Bayes' constant. Smooth rubble machinery and poor brickwork, the Bayes' constant may be 0.83. Same way, the Bayes' constant is also varying like Manning's constant. For yeah, can we move to the next slide? The next formula is Cutter's formula. Here we can find C is equal to the formula 23 point numerator 23 plus 0.00155 plus 1 upon n divided by 1 plus into the bracket 23 plus 0.00155 upon s bracket over n divided by square root of r. So here n is the Cutter's constant, s is hydraulic, r is hydraulic radius, and s is the longitudinal slope. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah, so here you can see that and Cutter or Manning's formula is varying. In Cutter's and Manning's formula, n is varying, and which depends on different types of material used in the channel and bed. Also, it depends on the various stages of flow and the widths. Like you can see, canal and river of rough surface and with widths, you can see that n value is 0.03, a last one, 10th one. So that way the n value depends on various parameters. Just a second. I just want to take a yeah. So can we move to the next slide, please? Now we are coming to the economical channel section. No, previous one, please. So most economical channel sections here we are discussing. So most economical channel sections are the kind of channel section which contains cost of construction a minimum one. So it has a minimum perimeter and the minimum or optimal perimeter which can allow maximum discharge is called as a most economical channel section. Here we are going to discuss three types of channel for three different types of channel shapes. Most economical channel section. One is rectangular, most economical channel section, trapezoidal and circular channels. So next slide, please. So for rectangular, for the channels, most economical channel sections, the discharge formula, we will use continuity equation. And for velocity, we can use either Chase's or Manning's, any equation as per the convenience and as per the data or parameters available in the field. So here P is minimum and Q is maximum is the condition where we can attain the most economical channel section. So the next slide, please. This is an example of channel section. Next slide. Yeah. So the most economical rectangular channel. So for most economical rectangular channel, P should be minimum. So for that, we can differentiate the equation of perimeter with respect to depth. And next slide, please. So these are the derivation. So we will not, I will not go into deep into this differentiation and all, but I will just reach to the condition, the last one, where hydraulic radius, so, sorry, mean hydraulic depth or hydraulic radius is d/2 for rectangular channel section. So in the most economical rectangular channel section, hydraulic radius will be d/2. The next one and depth will be b/2. So next slide is, this is a trapezoidal channel section. Next slide, please. Here the economical trapezoidal channel section, again we will differentiate the equation of perimeter with respect to D, depth of flow. So we can move to the next slide, please. Here, I'm not going deep into the differentiation and all. If you all need, I can provide you all derived equations for all the conditions. So here, we can see that for most economical trapezoidal channel section, top width is equal to 2 times of the side of the channel. Like B plus 2ND divided by 2 is half of the top width is equal to 1 of the side of the length of the side of the trapezoidal channel section. Here also the hydraulic radius is D by 2 and the theta angle, which theta is the angle which sustained by the bottom of the channel with horizontal. So that angle is called as a theta, and theta is 60 degree. In the previous slide, you can go previous slide, so you can see that theta angle here, where the where cursor is there. So this one is called as a theta angle, and this theta angle is 60 degree in the economical channel section, right? Okay. So A top width, the like length of A to D is equal to the length of AB, 2 times AB, or length of AB and CD, right? Next slide, please. Next one is circular channel section. One more channel section is a triangular channel section. That is not covered here, but also we can, if you need, I can share the slides details of the triangular channel section as well. Here in the circular channel section, the most economical condition is decided based on 2 criteria. One is maximum velocity and another one is maximum discharge. For maximum, so next slide, please. So for maximum velocity condition, the theta, which is the angle is subtended by the free surface with respect to center. The end of free surface with respect to center, the theta is an angle, and that theta is equal to 128 degree and 45 minute in case of maximum velocity condition, and the depth, that is depth of water, is 0.81 D. The D is diameter of circular channel section, and R is 0.3 D for the maximum velocity condition. Whereas in the maximum discharge condition, theta is 154 degree and D is small d is equal to 0.95 D. So these are the conditions which is attained while maximum velocity and maximum discharge condition in case of circular channel, open channel section. Next slide, please. Now coming to the non-uniform flow. So non-uniform flow is the flow condition when the velocity varies at each section of the channel and the energy line is not parallel to the bed of the channel. And this situation is caused due to several conditions. So what are those conditions? Let us understand. So one is difference in depth of channel. Next, difference in width of channel. Third, difference in nature of bed. Fourth, difference in slope of channel. And fifth, obstruction of channel in the flow. So these are the different conditions which causes non-uniform flow in the channel. Next. When we are talking about open channel flow, obviously we need to know the specific energy concept. So the concept of specific energy is briefly explained here. So and the fundamental equation which we use for the specific energy is E is equal to Z plus H plus V square over 2G, where Z is the height of bottom of channel above datum. So from datum line, how much channel has at what different distance the channel is situated. So Z is that distance. H is the water head or depth of water, and V square over 2G is velocity head here. The next slide is, so for rectangular channel, a simplified case of open channel, the discharge, you can continuity equation is applied to any shape of the channel section. So discharge is area into velocity. Therefore, from that equation, can we say that velocity is equal to discharge by area? And if, for rectangular channel section, discharge is equal to velocity is equal to discharge, that is Q divided by area, and area is what? Width into height of the depth of flow. So if the discharge per unit width, that intensity of discharge, small q, is equal to Q by B is equal to constant. We consider intensity as a constant. So can we write that velocity in putting that small q value in velocity, can we write that velocity is equal to Q divided by BH, and this Q by BH can be replaced with small q, that is this intensity of discharge. Can we write that velocity is equal to small q divided by h? So if using this equation, and for datum, the bottom of considering canal bottom or channel bottom as a datum, Z is also 0. So the energy equation becomes Z is 0, H plus V square over 2G. And again, we can rewrite putting values of V here from the previous equation. We can rewrite energy equation as H plus Q square over 2G into S square. This is the modified equation which is helpful to plot the specific energy curve. Can you move to the next slide, please? And the previous equation is a quadratic equation which has two asymptotes. So one is this one, which is passing so if we plot the energy curve on H as on vertical axis and E as on horizontal axis, so we can have one line that is passing a linear line which is at 45 degree with the horizontal, that is ES is equal to H curve, and another one is a parabolic curve which is shown in the purple line, right? And this curve is nothing but E is equal to H plus Q square over 2G H square, all right? Now, when the energy is optimal, means the critical, at this condition, we need to find the critical height, depth of the flow, right? So if we differentiate the energy equation with respect to H, and we equate it with 0, we can find the energy, that is critical depth, which corresponds to minimum energy, right? So critical depth with minimum energy, right? So that after differentiation that of the equation E is equal to H plus Q square over 2G S square, if we differentiate with respect to H and equate it with 0, we can find the condition. Here we replace H as HC, because at critical flow we rephrase, we are considering energy is minimum, and that is why comparing with 0, and that at that minimum energy, the depth of flow will be HC, that is critical depth. So HC is obtained as Q square over G whole to the cube root, right? So HC cube is equal to Q square over G. And if we can operate on that, we can rewrite that Hc cube into G is equal to Q square. That Q square is intensity, square of intensity of discharge. So this we can call it as equation 1. And if we substitute this in the equation of velocity, so substituting this equation of substitute Q is equal to Q by B, and Q discharge is equal to what? Area into velocity. So area is what? B into H in rectangular channel section into velocity divided by B. B gets cancelled. So here H into V at minimum energy, and that is why we can denote it as Hc into Vc. Sc is the critical depth and Vc is critical velocity. So this is the condition where here the Q can be written as Vc is equal to root of G into Hc. From there we can arrive critical velocity is equal to square root of critical velocity.
Ma'am, your voice is not coming.
Can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah. Next slide. Yes. So minimum and another previous one. Sorry. Previous one. So here we can see that the minimum critical specific energy in terms of critical depth E is equal to H plus Q square divided by 2G into H square. And when specific energy is minimum, depth of flow is critical, and this critical depth is again this is Hc is equal to Q square, that is intensity of discharge, square of intensity of discharge divided by G whole raised to 1/3 power, that is cube root of this. And finally, operating on this, substituting in the equation, this we can finally get Sc is equal to 2/3 E minimum. That means critical depth is equal to 2/3 of minimum energy, right? Next slide, please. So this is shown here in the with some example specific energy curve in a sluice gate which has a small opening and flow is taking place from the opening. And when the flow is taking place, if we can project the lines on the specific energy curve, so the water surface line on the energy curve and the different water level lines on the energy curve, you can see that how the flow is initially in supercritical flow, and then it attains to the subcritical flow. And when obviously when the flow is in supercritical flow and when it tries to meet to the subcritical flow, there is hydraulic, there is a jump, right? And this is called as a hydraulic jump. In this situation, certain loss of energy is happening. But you can see that for any energy, there are two depths. And these two depths, depth 1 and depth 2, which signifies as red line, red arrow, that and the mark 1 and 2, you can refer here, are called as two depths, which is called as alternate depths. One is in subcritical region and another one is critical, supercritical region. So depth 1 here is in supercritical flow condition, and depth 2 in this curve is in subcritical condition. Next slide. So alternate depths are two depths that that is possible for a given specific energy for particular discharge intensity, right? And for these conditions, we are having several equations. So at this discharge intensity is square root of 2g, y is y square into bracket e minus y. And at this condition, Froude number is v by square root of g into y, or you can write in terms of discharge intensity also. So for in terms of discharge intensity, it is small q divided by square root of gy cube, and a critical depth is q square over g whole to the power 1/3 or whole to the cube. EC is equal to 3 by 2 critical depth, or critical depth is equal to 2 by 3 E minimum. Next slide. And now the concept of specific energy is applied in two types of different conditions to understand the flow transitions. So there are two different types of flow transitions. One is vertical flow transition and another one is horizontal flow transition. So here actually all this concept takes too much time. I explain only specific energy and derivation of alternate depth and all. I take 2 lectures of 50 minutes. So here it is like I'm moving very fastly, and I understand that it is FDP, so concepts are known to the faculty members, and I just brief the important one. So this one is the choking condition we are discussing. Choking is the case of vertical transition. So the condition of choking of flow or choking condition implies at the minimum specific energy exists within the transition in case of vertical transition. So it is the case of raised hump. If you can refer any standard book like Open Channel Flow by Venti Chow, or Open Channel Flow by Hanif Chaudhary, or Open Channel Flow by Subramaniam, so you can find the condition as a raised hump condition. And this raised hump condition is the condition says whenever in a situation when the bottom of the channel is required to be raised. So how much the bottom should be raised and how much maximum depth of height of the raised bottom, and at what condition the flow will be possible, and what condition flow will be not possible, and the condition at which the flow is impossible to pass, becomes impossible to pass, that condition is called as the choking condition. At this condition, the channel up there, you can see that my cursor is moving. So this is normal bottom condition, and from here the transition is given and the bottom of the channel is raised with reference to the horizontal. You can see that H refers to the rise in the channel bottom, and we are estimating how much H maximum we can go with a particular specific energy. And if we increase the height of hump or transition height of bed above delta H maximum, then what is the flow condition? Maximum situation is happening, and how much the flow? What is the condition of flow at section 1, that is at upstream here at point 1 and point 2. So let us understand the concept from the specific energy curve. So let us assume a depth y. Y is there, y1 is there, depth of flow at section 1, and y2 is depth of flow at section 2. So 1 is the depth y. We have energy E1 at the point, at the cursor point where I have placed my cursor. And if you extend that point to the specific energy curve, you can meet a black dot. And if you can project that point on the vertical axis y, you can find y1. And y2 is the depth which is reduced due to increase in the height of increase in the rise in the bed of channel, and that is why the energy is reduced. The energy is reduced by H, and that is why the this one H Y2 is having less depth as compared to Y1. So Y1 is greater than Y2 and Y2 is less than Y2. And in so on, if we go on increasing the height or hump height or raise the bed continuously, we can derive to a condition by reducing the depth continuously. We can meet a depth that is YC. And after that condition, we cannot reduce the, we cannot increase the height of hump, that is increase the, raise the bed, and the minimum height will be YC. And at this condition, the energy will be minimum also, and the depth will be minimum, and the flow will be critical at section 2. So this is the condition of choking. This condition is called as a choking condition. For further increase in the bed, the flow will not be possible with this energy at the energy at Y1, E1, unless and until the energy is increased by increasing or by adjusting the depth of flow at section 1. So at certain height, the hump, the bed is raised at maximum rise is attained. After that, we cannot pass the flow unless and until the energy is being increased, and the energy is increased with the adjustment of height of water or depth of water at section 1, and with new depth of water, the water can be passed from the section 2 with the beyond maximum height of transition raise bed, and that flow will be again always in critical flow. So no matter what, how much height you go and increase, but always your flow depth will change at section 1, and flow depth at section 2 will remain constant at critical. Next slide, please. I assume this will be little bit difficult to understand. For that also, I have separate lectures for all the condition. Actually, this condition I have shown very brief here. It is discussed in two different conditions also, in subcritical condition and supercritical flow condition, both way. And there are several graphs with energy and depth variation with two different conditions also. Now the concept of this specific energy is applied in flow measurement. So when we in real life situation or in a natural situation, flow measurements like how much discharge is coming, what is the velocity, or what is the depth of flow at certain section. The flow measurement parameters are required to be like noted for different purpose. So for those conditions, we need the specific energy concept, and we apply those concepts during the flow measurement. So one of those kind of flow measurement technique is application of wear. So wear is a type of structure or device. Actually, it is not called as device. It is a structure placed in open channel that force the channel flow through an opening or aperture, often designed to measure the discharge. Generally, weir, barrage, dam, all those are the structures where we measure the discharge. Even at the bridge, also we measure the discharge. We may have seen that while we are passing on the bridge, say, some of the piers are marked with scales, like उसपे scale marks किए रहते हैं. So these scales are nothing but the for the measurement of the discharge at different level of the water level. From that scale is being noted, and then these records are being kept for the different planning purpose and different calculation and all. So this is the kind of broad crested weir. The discharge formula used is 2/3 root of 23 g into b into y raised to 3/2, where y is equal to the depth, upstream depth of the flow before the flow passes on the weir. At section 1, the depth of flow is y. Next slide, please.
Ma'am, you're not audible, ma'am. was due to some technical issues. Ma'am got disconnected. Ma'am will join just a minute. Kindly stay connected.
हाँ हाँ yeah, so we are like also we are supposed to complete the program. So we can quickly move to the slides. Yeah, please move to the next slide, please. Yeah, this one is the another example where we can measure the discharge. This is sharp crested weir, and in figure A and B, there are two types of flow: ideal flow and actual flow condition, where discharge is measured with the help of the formula CD is equal to √3 square root of 2G B into Y raised to 3 by 2, where Y is the depth of flow at section 1. You can next slide, please. Another application of flow measurement is notch. So here we have two types of notch. One is a rectangular notch and another one is triangular notch. So here the discharge formula used for the notch is CD into 2 by 3 root 2G into B into Y raised to 3 by T 3 by 2. And in case of V notch or rectangular notch, we can have triangular notch, we can have the formula as CD into 8 by 15 into root 2G into 10 theta by 2 into Y raised to 5 by 2. So these are the very important expressions based on which many competitive examinations, several MCQs are being asked, where theta is the angle subtended by two sides of the V notch. Next slide. Another example of the flow measurement is partial flow. Flumes are the examples with the help of which we can measure the discharge. And flumes are various types of flumes. Some of them is one is partial flume. There are several types of flumes: open standing flume, cutthroat flume, etc. So an open channel flume where the throat is constructed to choke the flow to create critical flow followed by hydraulic jump. So the discharge formula is this. Next slide is please. Now we are coming to the rapidly varied flow. In rapidly varied flow, the example is we can cite as a hydraulic jump, and hydraulic jump is the example of the rapidly varied flow. The condition is when the supercritical flow tries to meet subcritical flow, the jump occurs. In this situation, hydraulic jump occurs. So you can see that in the second figure where where cursor is there. So section 1, the depth of flow is D1, and the section 2, the depth of flow is D2. So depth of one flow is very less than the critical depth of flow, which is shown in the figure 1 with the dotted line. And depth of flow at 2 is higher than the critical depth of flow. So in this situation, at section 1, the flow is supercritical and Froude number is greater than 1. And in the second section, the flow is subcritical and Froude number FR2 is less than 1. And therefore, lower height to higher height. Like say for how can we take an example, just like someone wants to jump on the boundary, and someone at like ground level, and someone wants to jump on the boundary. So what we do? We take a jump. And that jump, because of jump, we can climb on the boundary of any building. Same way, the flow is also taking a jump here, and this type of jump is called as hydraulic jump. Next is what? Next slide is please. Here, the momentum concept is also applied to understand the concept of hydraulic jump. And the momentum concept, that is called a specific force also. Momentum is M is equal to A into Y bar plus Q square over G into A is the formula. Next. And this is the expression where the momentum is taken on the x-axis and depth of flow is taken on y-axis, and the two depths which attain in the gradually varied flow are called as a alternate depth. The two depths which attained in received in the for different condition for the same specific force or same momentum, for the same momentum, two depths are attained. These two depths are called as conjugate depths, and these depths are M1 and M2. In the previous flow example of hydraulic jump image, D1 and D2 are called as a conjugate depth. Next slide, please. These are the basics of hydraulic jump. You can move. Next slide. What are the causes of hydraulic jump? So several causes of hydraulic jumps are below control structure like weir sluice are used in the channel when any obstruction is found in the channel, and when a sharp channel in the channel slopes takes place, and at the toe of spillway, dam or sluice, etc. Right? Next slide, please. These are the expressions, a standard expression or governing expression for the hydraulic jump. To calculate the D2, like a subcritical flow depth in terms of Q, the D2 is equal to D minus D1 by 2 plus square root of D1 square by 4 plus 2Q square divided by 2 G into D1. In terms of Q and in terms of velocity and in terms of Froude number, these three equations are there which can help you to get the depth of flow after jump. Next. The loss of energy during the jump or which takes place in the jump. So we can abbreviate as HL. This is difference of E1 minus E2. E1 is the energy at section 1 and E2 is energy at section 2. So this is the expression is D2 minus D1 whole cube divided by 4 times D1 into D2. Generally, the length of jump, the length like from this point, this one, from this to this is called as the length of jump, and this jump is length of jump is 5 to 7 times difference of D2 minus D1. And hydraulic jump, the effective depth of hydraulic jump is D2 minus D1. Next slide is. There are several types of jumps. Hydraulic jumps in horizontal rectangular channel. When the Froude number are the signifying parameters based on which we can classify the jumps. Though Froude number is when the Froude number is 1 to 1.7, the jump is classified as undular jump. Then in this case of jump, ruffles or undulation, prominent undulations are seen on the surface, and surface rollers form near surface, and FR is 1.7 when Froude number is 1.7. Prominent rollers can be seen. When the Froude number is 1.7 to 2.5, a weak hydraulic jump is prevailing, and prevailing smooth flow, low energy loss. When the hydraulic Froude number is 2.5 to 4.5, oscillation is occurring, and intermittent jets from bottom or surface, causing persistent downstream waves. Like when the Froude number is 4.5 to 9, steady, the flow hydraulic jump is steady, so stable and well balanced energy dissipation contained in main body of the jump. And when Froude number is greater than 9, the strong jump is caused, effective but with rough wavy surface and in the downstream. Next slide, please. this is the example of gradually varied flow. Last type of the this one open channel flow is GVF. We call it as a gradually varied flow. So this my cursor is shown here. From this to this, the flow regime is called as a GVF, gradually varied flow. And here also before the wear, the GVF is this to this. Next slide, please. So there are several standards of GVF. So we can with reference to SO and SC. So SO is the slope of channel, bed of the channel, and SC is the critical slope that sustains a given discharge as a uniform flow, where the depth of flow is critical, right? So for the C, how the slopes are classified. So when the SO is greater than SC, or normal depth is less than critical depth, then the flow is steep, the bed is steep slope. Critical slope is the bed slope is equal to critical slope, and normal high depth of water is equal to critical depth. For mild slope, bed slope is less than critical slope, and normal depth of water is greater than critical depth. And horizontal slope, normal depth of flow is equal to 0, and adverse slope, the bed slope of the channel is negative. So these are the several examples of classifications of slopes. Next slide, please. So this is a combined this one, how a mild slope, when the bed slope is less than critical slope, when bed slope is greater than critical slope, steep slope, when bed slope is equal to critical slope, horizontal slope when bed slope is equivalent to 0, and adverse slope means bed slope is negative. So this is a combined like a graphical presentation, schematic presentation of different types of slopes. Next slide, please. Several profiles are there. So there are 13 profiles which exist. So clear-cut profiles are existing in M1, M2, and M3. M represents for mild slope, and zone 1, 2, and 3 are classified. And in this zone, when the gradual varying flow occurring, so if it is happening in zone 1, zone 1 is what? If we draw the bottom of the channel, and critical depth of the channel and normal depth of the flow, we can classify with reference to that we can classify as M1, M2, M3. Can we go to the next slide? We can there we can have a clear idea on this, how M1, M2, and M3 are happening. Can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah, see here. So this line where my cursor is, this is the bottom of channel where hatches are made. Then CDL is critical depth line, and NDL is normal depth line, normal flow of line. And above normal depth, it is called as zone 1. Normal depth and critical depth, between normal depth and critical depth, it is called as zone 2. And below critical depth and bed of the channel, it is called as zone 3. So you can see that M2 and M3 profiles are shown in here. Same way, critical depths are in steep flow condition also. S1, S2, and S3 profiles are shown. Can you move to the next slide, please? In critical zone, critical flow, critical slope, C2 and C3 are happening, and also same way in H2 and H3 are happening. There is no C1 and H1. Next slide, please. A2 and A3 is also happening. So only in zone 1, only in steep slope, mild slope, and critical slope, only M1 profiles are happening in zone 1. Next slope, next slide. Gradually, the governing expressions for gradually varying flow are this. Next slide. Next slide. These are another numerical analysis methods of the governing in numerical analysis method also, there are several methods, standard step method, direct step methods. These are the methods with the help of which we can calculate the gradually varied flow profile and different at various sections. So here is the governing expression for the direct step method. Next slide, please. See another example of numerical method, analytical method. The expression for this is in equation 1 and 2. The expression is mentioned. Next slide, please. Numerical integration method here. This expression, the long one, is used for the numerical integration method, and a useful integration scheme in 2-point Gauss-Legendre quadrature expression. Here, these analytical methods are applied for the exact calculation of depth. Let us move to the next slide, please. This one is direct integration method. The x is equal to y0 upon y s0 into bracket u minus function of u comma n bracket over plus yc upon y0 whole raised to m j upon n f of v comma j. So these are the direct integration methods. Next slide, please. Here, this is my case study. This is the case study of Galudi Barrage at Jamshedpur on the Swarnarekha River. This is a simulation which we have done. One of my PhD student has carried out this research, and in this we have simulated the Swarnarekha River. Here at the cursor point, the Galudi Barrage is situated, and on this, this is the upstream side of Swarnarekha, where we have almost taken 3 kilometer upstream, and one tributary like Gara Nala, this one on my cursor, which is meeting at the in the Swarnarekha River and the upstream of Galudi Barrage. This is also simulation for the Gara Nala is also being done with the help of Hack RS. This one software. This is open source software developed by USGS. USGS is United States of Army Corps of Engineers services. So this is open source software we are using for the developed simulation of this gradually varied flow. And there we have carried out a profile. Next slide, please. These are the several profile at the different cross sections. This is at Galudi Barrage. At certain chainage, like from at barrage point, these are the second image shows at the barrage station, and another one is shown at the Garan Swarnarekha mainstream of the channel section. ये जो blue line है, ये profile है आपका बनाती है. This is top surface and below one is the this one. इसका हम लोगों ने पूरा bathymetry study किया हुआ था acoustic Doppler से. 3 किलोमीटर अपस्ट्रीम का और गारा नाला का भी 2 किलोमीटर अपस्ट्रीम का गालुडी बराज सेक्शन से. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. ये वाटर सरफेस प्रोफाइल है, ये गारा नाला का जो ट्रिब्यूटरी है उसका है. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. Maybe this is the end of slide. So thank you. I just conclude here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your valuable insights, ma'am. With this, we come to end of today's faculty development program. On behalf of the organizing committee and our institution, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed resource persons and for sharing their valuable knowledge, insights, and experience with me. I also sincerely thank our respected director, sir, dignitaries, faculty member, participants, and everyone who contributed to the successful conduct of this program. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for questions listening. Thank you. Can I leave now?
Yes, madam. Sure.